I signed in because I have a unique perspective on some of the problems in Alaska. I was an FBI agent for 12 years, worked public corruption violations in Detroit, Puerto Rico, and 6 years here in Alaska. And I must say, Detroit and Puerto Rico are pretty corrupt. I've never seen any place like Alaska. Every time I worked a federal public corruption investigation, it was corrupted by either federal or state officials. For example, without getting into too many details, one of the things that has happened recently is, since I kind of went public about 8 or 9 months ago with some of the issues with FBI Anchorage, I have gotten a ton of phone calls requesting help. So when Attorney General Taylor, you say you don't think your department is corrupt. I mean, I get it, but I've had so many complaints, and there's so much smoke within the Department of Law, the Department of Public Safety, and Office of Children's Services. I don't know what else to conclude than other than it is corrupt. Like, for example, how would you handle a prosecutor of yours going to a minor child against their parents' explicit denials, interviewing them before a grand jury, and then telling that minor to shut up about it and not tell anybody about it? That happened. I have evidence of that. How would you react if the state, I know it's not your department, the Department of Public Safety, multiple officers, troopers, in different cases, overtly lying in affidavits and in grand jury, and the Department of Law just picking it up and running with it as if it's fact? That again, I have proof of in multiple situations. It's just over and over again in this state. And one of the things that you keep bringing up is this independent prosecutor. Again, like, one of the things that I've seen in this state is that all the attorneys in the state, whether you're on the defense, the prosecution, or other, they all want to be friends after work. It's just so, in my view, incestuous that the only real way that you're going to be able to have a good a good independent prosecutor is if you go out of state. Yes. I've attempted to do that, to bring in attorneys from Michigan, where I used to work. They're very much interested in some of the stuff that's going on in Alaska, as is, honestly, the Civil Rights Unit at the Department of Justice. I've had pretty good conversations with them about what's going on. One of the other things that I have kind of bounced around, in fact, I got this idea from a current legislator, was introducing an Office of the Inspector General for the state of Alaska, an independent elected Office of the Inspector General to specifically address some of the negligence or misconduct that goes on specifically in the Department of Public Safety and Office of Children's Services.
Mr. Bowens.
I just wanted to thank you for taking my comments, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Bowens. Trent, do you want to comment?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you pointed out a couple things there. One, it is difficult to get an independent prosecutor, and we have considered going out of state, and we'll probably likely have to do so for many of the cases that we're on notice that many people are going to be filing cases, so we're going to be busy for a little while, and we're going to have to find independent prosecutors to take those on. So that may very well be an out-of-state prosecutor or somebody out of state that doesn't have any ties to Alaska. And what some of the other things you described, that if you've got evidence of these things, please submit them through the process. Like I said, I'm pushing them through to investigative grand juries, and that's the process that we have, and you know what the process is. You go through the process, and it fits it, and it's a matter of public safety and public welfare. It's going to go to investigative grand jury.
Thank you, Terry.
Because I'm as concerned with you about the state of public trust right now in the justice system. As the lead prosecutor for the state, that's really concerning. We want people to have confidence in the system. We want people to report crimes and have confidence that those crimes are going to be investigated appropriately and referred to the Department of Law for prosecution appropriately and courts deal with them appropriately. And if people lose that confidence, you're right. I mean, what are they left with? And we don't want to see people taking matters into their own hands when we're supposed to have a process that serves the people. And I'm confident that 99.9% of the time we get it right. But I'm also cognizant that there's the 1% of that we probably don't get right. And so, the reason I'm down here is I want to be a part of the solution. I want you to understand what our thoughts are, what our thinking is on the process, and just make you aware of where I'm at with the process and possible solutions for that process. So that's why I'm here.
Thank you, Trey. Next online is
Sharon Walls.
Sharon Walls, please. You have 3 minutes. We're going to try to get through the remaining. You have 3 after that online. And then Mr. Bird. Is that correct? Yes, okay. Sharon Walls, you have 3 minutes. Please proceed.
Hi, Mr. Taylor. I am Sharon Walls. I am the wife of the former police chief of Ketchikan. I just want to address your article today. I'm happy that you actually had the gall to, and guts, I appreciate that and I respect that, to step out and say something without having somebody else like John Skidmore do it for you, which is what has traditionally been done. But what I'm concerned about is that you state in your article, here's what really happened. And this case was never adjudicated. This case never went to a jury. And what you say really happened, I have the recordings from that evening. I don't know if you know this, but our attorney told your prosecutors that. They chose not to take them or listen to them. And so what you said in your article today, I have the recordings that dispute that. I would love to play them for you if you haven't heard them, but you are in possession of them. Well, not mine, but you're in possession of the troopers, and it completely disputes what you said. Not to mention that what you put in there was pretty much a cut and paste, but you left out a few different things. You put in a couple statements that suited your needs, but you left out the 5 other witnesses that said something completely different. I am not feeling as gracious as Mr. Haig when he says that he's going to give you the benefit of the doubt, because you didn't have to publish that article today without really looking into what happened. Because if you would have listened to the recordings and you would have listened to me telling one of your prosecutors, have you listened to the recordings? Because they're completely different than the affidavit. And then you could listen to one of your prosecutors threatening to charge me with some crime if I testified in front of the grand jury. I asked repeatedly, what are you going to charge me with? I'm the victim here. This man attacked me. I did nothing. I did nothing. And my husband, his actions were moderate in consideration of what happened. And I was there, so please don't call me a liar as well. You've already done that once before. I think it's insulting that you wrote that article, because there hasn't been any complaint lodged to your wall of silence. This new website that you want us to put a complaint to. There were others, and I also would like to point out that your allegations against the trooper that you say was paid for, I think you're combining this with another law enforcement officer who wasn't paid for, who wasn't a witness, that stated his claim of what your office and what the trooper said was a lie. I think that if you really want to get this right, I think it would be beneficial if you listen to all the audio. We could do it together. I'm open to that. And I pray for you. That's all.
Amen. Amen.
Yeah.
Thank you for your comments. I stand by the article that I put out there in response to the pieces that were out there on this incident. I do think it's inappropriate to hit a man who is walking towards the bathroom in the back, unawares that he's being hit from behind without any warning whatsoever, without stop, police,
and hitting that man into a brick wall.
Causing a laceration to his forehead, and then jumping up on, putting a chokehold on him, and it requires 2 employees to pull off. So when law enforcement investigated that, I don't have investigative authority. I can't investigate those crimes on mine. It takes law enforcement, and if law enforcement doesn't refer those to me for criminal prosecution, those criminal prosecutions don't occur. I need law enforcement to find that they think that there's something wrong and that something happened that violated the law. In this case, law enforcement thought the law was violated, and they referred it to prosecution, and I do what I do when law enforcement refers things for prosecution. I prosecuted the case. All of that evidence that you have, it could have come out in trial. That is perfectly acceptable to prove the innocence. Is all of that evidence. We looked at the evidence, and we and the troopers looked at the evidence, and everybody that looked at the evidence thought that an assault had occurred, and so I stand by that article.
I am a whistleblower. Craig Taylor knows about it because I had a private meeting with him and Governor Dunleavy. I was retaliated against for whistleblowing. I got fired. I showed them evidence. Their excuse to me, as I'm the one that brought the lawsuit against the state, because no attorneys, I found, would actually step up to the plate because they don't want to get involved in something that detours them and their possibilities of becoming an attorney general. I found that out on the inside, but I also found out that I could run and do a lawsuit on my own. I did. I brought it to Craig Taylor. He gave it. Unfortunately, it really shows kind of a low-class individual when you do this, because I'm talking to him and the governor, and he gives it to Andy Miller. And Andy Miller sends it back to me and says, well, sorry, statute of limitations. Here's the problem with your statute of limitations, and I would like an answer from Craig Taylor himself. When the government is the one that is in the mode of stonewalling, I want to know, do you even look at that or consider it, or do you just recognize that the government's got all the power, and so you just declare statute of limitations, citizen, tough luck? That's the end of it. Thank you. Please give me an answer.
Yeah. No, that I don't draw the statute of limitations line. That's not something I get to decide. That is a decision for the legislature to decide, right? The people you elect there. And in order to pursue that line, unfortunately for you, that the statute of limitations had already expired. It didn't stop us from investigating and looking into your allegations. And so there is, on most crimes, there's very few allegations that don't have some sort of statute of limitations, and there's good reasons behind that. There's some policy reasons. You can disagree where sort of the legislature's put that line, but some of the reasons that you have statute of limitations because memories fade, witnesses die, information gets destroyed. And so one of the hallmarks of our system is that people are able to put up an adequate defense, right? They can face their accuser in court and put up a defense, and they can use all the information that they have to support their defense. And that's through a passage of time, 5-10 years on some crimes, that just is no longer available to that information, that person. Those documents have long since been destroyed according to the document destruction policies that every corporation has under the law. And so I'm not saying that I agree with all the lines of the statute of limitations. I'm not expecting you to agree with where they have that line, but that's just a reality of our justice system, and there's reason for it.
Mr. Taylor, you want to give some closing comments? I'll close it out, and you are going to have to leave.
Thank you. I really do appreciate, I know we've received a lot. We knew we were going to get really hard questions here, and some people that really are passionate about the issues. And my thanks to you is really sincere, right?